Hey guys, welcome to the big showdown in the 12th round of the Hastings tournament of 1895. Pillsbury is facing the world champion, Emmanuel Lasker. Pillsbury has been on fire, crushing people left and right. So Lasker just played the move knight to e2. And at this point, the material is even, as you can see. Black played the move bishop to e5. Now white has a choice here between g3 and f4. Those are the two logical moves to stop queen h2 checkmate. This move is not as logical because it creates a hole on g3 for the queen to come into, and we're going to play queen h2 next move unless white does something like f4. So after bishop to e5, Lasker surprisingly played the move f4. Now, first question, as black, what would you do here? What should black play in this position? Pause your video, try to figure it out. Alright, I'm going to show the answer now. Black played very simply. There's no trick. Black simply captured an e2 and captured an f4. If pawn to g3, bishop takes bishop is check. And as happened in the game, which was bishop takes f4, and then black just took an f4. And basically, black simply won a pawn. So what the heck was Lasker doing? I'm not sure. I don't know if he planned that or just totally missed something obvious. I have no idea. But now he's down a pawn. He played queen a6, a logical move. Queen check, king h1. Now I'd like to ask you guys what you would do here for black. Pause your video again. Alright, so I'm going to show what Pillsbury did. Pillsbury simply captured the pawn. However, when we look at the rest of the game, this move maybe was not the best practical choice. I'm starting to think that this a-pawn is very important. When we take and white takes, all of a sudden white has an annoying passed pawn. And meanwhile, black's king is a little bit open here. The queen's attacking this pawn. I think it gives white a decent amount of counterplay. I believe the best practical move is c4. If pawn takes, well, now we're not up a pawn anymore, but these pawns are very weak. And we can try something like queen b6, for example. Also possible would be a move like queen f2. Because if rook takes queen, rook b1 is checkmate. This may actually just be the best move. So I like c4. And if queen takes, pawn takes, rook b2 is much better for black. Some interesting ideas might be e5 here, because if pawn takes pawn, queen takes e6. But black can simply play this, and, you know, the position's interesting. And black still has an extra pawn with decent chances to win. Queen a4 was risky, as you're going to see. Queen takes, queen to b7. He would love to trade queens, but queen a4 was played. c6. Basically, white's idea here is to kind of combine attacks on the king and these weak pawns with the a-pawn push. And watch how well it works. It's really amazing, because white is down a pawn here still. It still looks like Lasker just blundered a pawn away. But after queen e4, queen d7, a4, e5, which looks pretty logical, although perhaps something like rook f8 may have been a better idea, but it's still, this a-pawn's very fast. So in the game, black played e5, h3, just to get back rank mates out of the way. Rook b4, queen e1, e4. And suddenly this pawn starts to get super strong. d5, a6. How does black stop it? After, well, rook b8 would have been the better move here if I recall correctly. Just immediately defending this pawn. Instead he played queen e7. And now white played what I think is a pretty nice move. The rook b8 idea, I think it's a pretty good idea, and white stops it with queen to g3. So now the idea is we're going to stop that rook from getting back into the game. And if rook b6, simply rook to a1. And this a pawn suddenly is just a huge monster. So what does black do? Sorry, what does white do after queen g3? He played e3, but again after rook a1, he was having big problems. And after queen f6, rook to e1, his a pawn's still a pain. If rook to b6 now, queen c7, rook takes pawn, queen c8. So he played d4, but after a7, now he's in trouble because queen b8 is coming. Queen d8 stops that, rook a1 with the threat of queen, and now white's queen is just going crazy. Queen takes c6, and the position is basically lost. And white to move here, what would you do? If you said queen takes b7, you are correct. And black simply resigned, because if queen takes queen, a8 queen wins a rook. And if we throw in this in-between move, it doesn't help, because rook e8 check, and a8 queen. So this was a crazy game. I mean, it looked like Lasker just blundered a pawn, but he won anyway. He toppled Pillsbury somehow. What are the lessons to be learned? I think the key lesson here is, in this moment, I really like the move c4. First of all, I guess it's a really weird position that this is so dangerous for black, but a combination of the weak king, this passed a-pawn, and kind of the queen that can attack a lot of weaknesses, along with this rook in the open file, somehow this position, there's a lot of counterplay for white. It's not obvious to the naked eye, but there is. And I really think black should have not allowed this pawn to be captured, played c4, and now it's not going to be easy to win at all. It's going to be a very, very tough game, but you don't give up the stupid, annoying a4, a5, a6 idea, which takes the situation away from, like after c4, you're either going to win or draw. After queen e4, there was a third option, losing. And that's exactly what happened in the game because of this passed a-pawn. And I'm telling you, it wasn't that easy to find the defensive moves there. Admittedly, Pillsbury didn't defend very well, but it was not as easy as it may have looked. Like, white's counterplay was serious there. So I don't blame Pillsbury on this. It's not an obvious thing that this a-pawn is going to be so annoying. However, I guess the point is don't underestimate passed pawns in positions like this. And I just like c4. So very interesting game, interesting win from Lasker, and start of a budding rivalry. Thanks all for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.